everyone, welcome back to the Bargain Bin, where I review cheap games for poor gamers. I am Cataclysm, and this week we've set aside $10 for Gods Will Be Watching, available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. I bought my copy off of goodoldgames.com, but it's also available on Amazon. Let me start off by saying that Gods Will Be Watching doesn't have an official ESRB rating that I'm aware of, but if it did, it would definitely be rated M for mature themes and violence. But it's a point-and-click adventure game, I hear you say. How could it merit a mature rating? Well, I'll get right into it. This game is hard. Not just the mechanics, which seem pretty simple until one of the random elements completely destroys your hopes and dreams, but this is a mentally challenging game as well. In a vaguely futuristic sci-fi setting, you play as Sergeant Burden, the leader of the typically motley crew of bizarre but competent people. The game kind of starts you en media res, with you and your crew abandoned by your enemies on a planet with no hope of escape. After a brief bit of exposition that gets you into the basic plot, you're plopped into the first puzzle. See, Gods is classified as a modern point-and-click adventure game, but it's also a puzzle game, and maybe balance simulator is accurate too. Your adventure is guided by how you handle the puzzles, which could be anything from how well you keep your hostages calm to deciding which of you gets the worst of it in a torture scenario. These puzzles are where the balancing comes in. As time in the puzzle progresses, you have to figure out which elements are rising and which are lowering, and you have to maneuver things in such a way that you keep everything in balance. Which hostage is looking most antsy? How far have those guards progressed up the hallway? Your buddy is looking pretty bad. This next punch might be too much for him. Will this guy believe your lie? You have to take all these things into account and make the total come out in your favor. And sometimes it doesn't, to brutal effect. If you fail, you have to go back to the start of that puzzle and try again, often losing 20 or more minutes of time spent, only to then fail again in the exact same spot 2 or 3 more times. But that's just the mechanics talking. At one point, I lost track of how messed up my companion was at the time, and he died. That in itself was rather brutally animated despite the pixel graphics, but forever afterward I would see and talk to his ghost. And not in a Casper the Friendly Ghost kind of way, but in a guilt-ridden trauma kind of way. Yeah. Now, I have to tell you that I haven't beaten this game yet. I'm having a hard time progressing because not only am I bad at balancing puzzles like this, but it's also an exhausting game. You usually have 3 or more factors to keep in mind, and there's always a chance that something has just not been made known to you. There are random elements, too, which can derail your success train faster than you can ask what the hell just happened. Besides all the metagame thinking required, though, Gods Will Be Watching presents some pretty serious subject matter. Torture, the morality of cannibalism for survival, PTSD, and the idea that all sides of a dispute think that they're doing right and maybe we aren't the untouchable paragons of virtue we thought we are all things that Gods brings to you. This is not a game for people who like to be the good guys and know that they are on the side of justice while they save people and take out the definitely bad guys. Aside from the, at times, incredibly frustrating mechanics, Gods Will Be Watching is a pretty good game. It was brought to life out of a Game Jam entry that was made in 72 hours, and you can play a free minigame version of it at godswillbewatching.com. I highly suggest trying that out before you spend your money, though, because this game is not for everyone, and it's definitely not for young players. And, on that happy note, that's it from me, gamers. I will see you next time with a new budget on the Bargain Bin.